Welcome. You see, since just before Christmas, if you have been following the trend, we have had topical issues around this season. We've dealt with Christmas lights. We have dealt with characters around the birth of Christ. And today we are talking about New Year's resolutions. And when we talk about New Year's resolutions, we are talking about you and I in the context. Let me just take a springboard from the passage I sent to you as preparation. Proverbs 6 says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." New Year's resolution, and that's a warning against folly. Let's go to our topic. A resolution is a firm decision either to do or not to do something. It's a purpose, it's a plan, it's a promise, it's an undertaking, it's a determination, it is single-mindedness. You could go on and on and on. So when we're talking about New Year resolution, a year is defined just by our calendar at the time taken by the earth to make one revolution around the sun. And that's a period of 365 or 360 days in leap year. It's used for reckoning of time in ordinary circumstances. So precisely, a year is a period of 12 months. There is a calendar year, there is a budget year, which necessarily may not start from the 1st of January, but it goes through the revolution of 365 days in its orbit and decision commitments. New Year resolution. You see, a New Year resolution is a tradition, and it's most common in the Western Hemisphere, but also found in the Eastern Hemisphere, in which persons resolve either to continue good practices, change an undesired trait or behavior, or to accomplish a personal goal, otherwise to improve their life at the start of a new year. That's the way Wikipedia defines it. But in the secular world, US did some research. According to the American Medical Association, approximately 40 to 50% of Americans, they participated in a New Year resolution tradition around 1995, another one 1985. Precisely 2,000 people were involved, and the most common resolutions could be made into just 10 points, which makes me land on discussing the types of resolution. That was a secular resolution. In that secular or community-based resolution, almost all of them were agreed to eat healthier, to exercise more, to save more money or spend less, to learn something new, to quit smoking, read more, change jobs, drink less, spend more time with family and friends, and get organized. So community-based resolutions could be referred to as secular. A second type is an individualized resolution. Say it again. Around 1710 BC, Jacob made a very, very breathtaking decision when he was running away from his brother. And he got to a place and made this resolution. Genesis chapter 28. He made a vow, saying, "If God will be with me, I will keep me in this way that I go. I will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then the Lord shall be my God, and this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house, and of all that givest me, I will give thee a tenth." That was an individual resolution. A third resolution is a corporate resolution. And the most popular is what happened in the Nehemiah reconstruction of Jerusalem wall, 444 BC. The new nationals were building, and there was an imposed conscious living resolution. Because these gentlemen were doing wrong, he said, return to them this very day their fields, their vineyards, their olive orchards, and their houses. And 100th money, grain, wine, they were extorting each other. So a corporate resolution needed to be put on ground for good behavior. Not just that alone. There was an oath, guided, imposed resolution in the community. And they told him, we will restore this and require nothing from them. We will do as you say. And he said he called the priests to swear them an oath. Community resolutions continued in Nehemiah chapter 9. Incidentally, we have not finished discussing Nehemiah, but in chapter 9, it was so impulsive and very, very touching that they wrote it down. So because of all this, we make a firm covenant and write it. Our priests, our Levites, and our priests set the seal to it. So corporate resolutions, they exist. And they go beyond just the ordinary. In chapter 10 of Nehemiah, they made another resolution. They say, if the Gentiles, if other people come to the land, bringing in wares or any grain on the Sabbath day to sell, we will not buy from them on the Sabbath or on any holy day. I will forgo the crops of the 7th year and the exaction of every debt. That was a corporate resolution. As I'm talking to you, the most popular is the reckoning of time, which they have continued in the first Passover feasts. So if you Google the calendar new year, because they have about 13 months calendar, they call it, that's what is a national Passover. They call it Rosh Hashanah 2021. Will begin in the evening of Monday, 6th September, and ends in the evening of Wednesday, 8th September. That's a new year since the time when they left Goshen and set for the promised land. They've not been done with it. A fourth resolution is a professional one, Hippocratic oath. And you know Hippocratic oath that doctors do swear to, or that doctors do a firm commitment to. Those are commitments. And we all know the marital resolution. When you appear before the priests on the day of your marriage, I promise to have and to hold, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to have and to hold from this day forward until death do us part. That's a resolution. Those are the marriage covenants that happen in monogamous marriages conducted in the church. There is also the circumstantial resolution. I could tell you that. It's very interesting because the day Paul was badly treated and there was an earthquake in that jail, see what happened? Acts chapter 16:32 records it. Then they spoke the word of the Lord to the jailer and to all others in his house. The Bible says, at that hour of the night, the jailer took them and washed their wounds. Then immediately he and all his household were baptized. Don't ask me whether there was a flowing river behind his house. That resolution of conversion made him not only accept to be baptized in the night. There's also the commanded resolution. And that's the Passover that is most common. Exodus chapter 12 records it. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. You can see God gave them what will be their beginning. Just excuse me. That's a commanded resolution. God dictated it. He also brought back Jacob online. 20 years after he had made a resolution in Bethel, he went off track of godliness. The family's garments were spotted with blood in Shechem. And God said to Jacob, arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make there an altar to the God who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau. A commanded resolution is to bring the people of God either to start well, and that is what I call a discipleship landmark resolution. There are many wills of God. There is the absolute will, there is the permissive will. But when in discipleship, you make up your mind. In Galatians 2:20, it says, I have been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. So a landmark resolution to be committed to the absolute will of God is another area of discipleship that is upstream and productive. Now let's go to questions. Why is New Year resolution important? Should you have it? I could give you a few reasons why New Year's resolutions are important. You see, the New Year's resolution is a promise which a person makes for the new year. Those are annual goals. Presidents will make New Year address to the nation with a measure of promises, of expectations, of commitments and achievements. It's an annual goal. And regardless of what resolution you commit to, the goal is to improve life in the coming year. Is to improve yourself. Resolutions can come in many forms as to why they're important. Some people make a promise to change their bad habits, such as quitting smoking or eating less junk food. Fifthly, we are creatures of a limited lifespan. The Bible says in Psalm 90 and verse 10, the years of our life, they are 70, or even by reason of strength for score. Yet their span is but toil and trouble. They are soon gone and will fly away. We are limited by the days of the calendar. So as to why it's important for you and I to make resolution, it is godly wisdom to realistically allot assignments to days. It says, so teach us to number our days, that we get a heart of wisdom. If you number your lifespan in days, you are wiser. Because those decades, they come like lightning. Failing to plan is planning to fail. That's why you need a resolution. Jesus Christ said, for which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the costs, whether he has enough to complete it? So if you fail to plan, your planning resolutions are important. Scriptures say where there is no vision, the people perish. Or where there is no prophecy, where there is no divine guidance, people perish. And I'll still start on the divine appendage or divine input to resolutions. But then, a nice color, should I put it that way? Any day can be the beginning of a resolution year. It doesn't have to be 1st of January. In fact, in Hebrews 3:13, it says, exhort one another. We are exhorting one another now. Exhort one another every day, as long as it is called today, that none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. A resolution year can start any day. The last but not the least, leadership is all about decision making. It's all about resolution making. Nehemiah was saying, chapter 5, I took counsel with myself, and I brought charges against the nobles and the officials, and said to them, you are exacting interests, each from his brother, and I held a great assembly against them. When you are a leader, you're always making decisions. So resolution is not strange to leadership corridors. Now, it is common knowledge that a lot of resolutions fail to be achieved. And that's why I want us to also discuss, why do we fail in achieving New Year's resolution? One of the most common reasons is people fail to keep their New Year's resolution because they are not specific enough. People say, God, I want you to do good to me. It doesn't mean much. They're not specific at what they set their goal on. Secondly, ignorance about the Creator's master role is the greatest tragedy. Psalm 127 verse 1 says, unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. So one of the reasons, but the major reason why New Year's resolution fail, that hidden points, which is the Creator's role to perform, a lot of people don't know. Of course, I will go with the third reason to tell us there are no accidental successes. You don't succeed by coincidence. Proverbs 16:9 says, a man's plans his ways, but the Lord directs his steps. There is no success by mistake or coincidence. God has the remote control of making them happen. Fourthly, as to why resolutions fail, the exclusives, they are for the righteous. Proverbs 37:23 says, the steps of a man, they are from the Lord. Compare Moses in the burning bush. How did he get there? Of course, God led him there. And God establishes him in whom he delights. Though he fall, he shall not be cast headlong. For the Lord is the stay of his hand. Verse 25, I've been young, now I'm old. Yet I've not seen the righteous forsaken or his children begging for bread. So you will know that exclusives for the righteous, they are planned by God. People will say, you're lucky. The truth is that God still has the remote control of the successes that happen here on earth. Of course, Jeremiah mentioned it as a testimony. He said, I know, Lord, that the way of man is not in himself, that it is not a man who walks to direct his steps. So don't fool yourself that when God is very annoyed, he throws you, you will land in heaven. You must be one of the greatest fools. Why do New Year's resolutions fail? I like Psalm 75:6. It says, not about promotions, not from the east or from the west, and not from the wilderness comes lifting up. But it is God who executes judgment, putting down one and lifting up another. You'll be surprised how much of perfect control God has in this creation without anybody knowing, whether you know him or not. For instance, let me give you an example of Simeon who appeared in the temple when Jesus Christ was being presented. Luke chapter 2 tells us in verse 26 and 27, it had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he should not see death before he had seen the Lord Christ. And inspired by the Spirit, he came into the temple. And when the parents brought in Christ Jesus, the child Jesus, to do for him according to the custom of the law, don't think that, I just happen to have walked in. God directs steps. Why? Do resolutions fail? Of course, discouragements. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 4. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the cloud will not reap. When God says, go ahead, sometimes you wonder if God can see what's happening on ground. Discouragements sometimes create a big inertia. You don't even want to start at all. I haven't been done with why resolutions fail. Let us now talk about how to make resolutions that will succeed. The first step is to start with God, the Creator. He is the Creator. He is the Judge. Ask Him and or see if what you want to do complies with scriptures. Start with Him. Second step, if God is guiding you by virtue of scripture and direct guidance, ask Him about the timing or find out how ripe for you it is. Proverbs 20:24 says, a man's steps are ordered by the Lord. How then can man understand his ways? My dear brother listening to me, my dear sister listening to me, God is still perfectly in control of this earth. Believe it or not. Number 3, of how to make resolutions that will succeed. God will react to you with revelation or direct. The urgent line, Jeremiah 3:33, call to me and I will answer you and will tell you great and hidden things which you have not known. You are calling on him, he starts with revelation. You dream, you get guidance, somebody talks to you, not even know what you're planning, that's God. How can you succeed or be in control of resolutions that succeed? It takes God's participation for your goal to become testimony. Let me give you an example. Moses had been told to lead the children of Israel to the promised land. He was told to start off. They met the Red Sea, and see what God said in Exodus 14:15. The Lord said to Moses, why do you cry to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Of course, it doesn't make sense rushing into the sea. So if God does not participate in what you have prayed about, what you are sure about, what you are on course for, you may crash at middle point, because for your goal to become testimony, it takes God's participation to bring into fullness what you already started. The 5th point of how to make your resolution succeed. Don't give up on efforts. I say it again. Don't give up on efforts. Ecclesiastes 11:6. In the morning, sow your seed, and at evening, withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good. So don't give up on efforts, which leads me to recall this picture of the entire man. We are made of spirit, soul, and body. Our soul is the anchor to the Godhead, intuition, conscience, and communion. With this, we open the doors to our soul and body. So the total man needs empowerment from God to do God's will and intention. We need to be faultless. We have a spiritual battery. When God empowers your spiritual man, we have a rechargeable spiritual battery. And that rechargeable spiritual battery must be faultless. 1 Thessalonians 5:23 says, may the God of peace sanctify you totally, and may your spirit and soul and body be kept sound and blameless. When you key into Godhead through your spirit, through confession and penitence and confession of sins, obstacles are removed and dealt with. Then your intuition component of the spirit, and that is knowing without being taught, becomes active. 1 John 2:27. It says the anointing that you have will teach all things. Conscience is the still small voice of the spirit man. And with our conscience, we need to pray with listening. When you say Exodus 32:32, it has a graphic, teaching. Moses said, but now, if thou will forgive their sins, see it in your Bible. You see dash. That means he paused to expect God to say something. And he said, if not, blot me, I pray you, out of the book you have written. And then God said, I will not blot you out. So start to pray with listening. A prayer is not just a broadcast to God. Be a listening, prayerful person. God reacts. Magnet with the Godhead. And with it, we practice the continual presence of God. He says, I will put my law within them, and I will write upon their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Even when Nehemiah was talking to God, he was saying, so I pray to God. You can be multitasking in praying, in discussing, and asking God. And you know that will is a component that God does not take from anybody. With your will, you can key to the spiritual. With your will, you can kill to the soul. With your will, you can key to the body. And I've discussed that in so many telecasts. Our mind is the real battlefield. And there are 18 components of the mind. Your thinking mind has intelligence. Imagine David and Goliath, your intelligent quotient, your skill, your reasoning, your knowledge, your experience. The mind is a battlefield. Your feeling mind, your desires, your emotion, your attitude, your preferences, your values, and your compulsive doing mind, your drive, your necessity, your innate force, your instincts, your mental energy, and talents. The mind is a battlefield when you are planning. Sometimes you wake up in the morning, you feel like committing suicide. I say, God forbid. Because the devil will make suggestions, God will speak to you. And when you are totally giving over to God, you win the battle. Let's now go to a case study. Let's use the building industry as an example to make a vision become testimony. A resolution is like planning to own a building constructed house or property. Here you decide this year, I want to build my own house. The first mental phase is to submit your mind, submit to elective death or abdication of the mind throne. Hand over to God. Hand over to God in planning, or plan with its inputs for both spiritual and physical. Galatians 2:20. I have been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I that live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. A mental elective dethronement of your mind to God will make him do great things. Don't forget, you want to build a house. But just then, let us see Jesus' model. He wanted to appoint disciples. He got directly involved with God. Luke 6:12. In those days, he went out to the mountain to pray, and all night he continued in prayer to God. And when it was day, verse 13 says, he called his disciples and chose from them 12, whom he named apostles. Jesus' model is he prayed all night. The next thing will be practical. He now shared his vision or resolution with those to be involved in operations. Mark 3:14. He appointed the 12 to be with him and to be sent out to preach. They were to be trained. And towards the end, you'll be surprised, in spite of what Jesus Christ did, godly resolutions, they are not problem-free. Jesus Christ had a problem, 1 out of 12. He answered them, did I not choose you, the 12, and one of you is a devil? So don't think because you made resolutions, you ask God, you're having a problem, doesn't now means you don't belong to God. No, Jesus had problems. Now let's come. You want to build a house. You have a vision. You have briefed your architects, and the drawing building plan has been given you. This is the ground floor of a proposed building. You have the kitchen, you have the terrace, you have dining, you have other ones. At this drawing, anybody can draw. The stage that is next is the quantities. Jesus Christ said, for which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the costs, whether he has enough to complete it? When you have got your plan from the architect, you ask this question: is it realistic for me? Is it actionable? Is it reachable? Is it achievable? Will it stand the test of times? The stage 2, after the drawing, is to see how much money you have that can make it. Stage 3 is what all of us want to. Can you see this beautiful edifice? John 4 is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. When we want to dedicate a house, we are all very happy. Before this stage, if you don't do preparations, your resolution will falter, will crash, and the dream will be unimaginable and unrealizable. This is the goal. It starts with just joy. What are the benefits of making resolutions? You want to use Isaac and Rebekah's marriage, looking for a wife around 5,340 kilometers away. And the initiator was Abraham. That year, Abraham made up his mind Isaac will be married. See how the resolution went with his slave or with servants. Abraham resolved about where Isaac's bride was to come from. He said, swear to me, and I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. That's how it started with the servants. And the servant gave a post.
What do you say? Like so your data don't finish.
Please, let's exercise some patience.
Church kò sọ̀rọ̀ mọ́.
And so CW is free there, Abby.
Go picture Nathan yellow.
It's common with network. What CW has 7 seasons. Netflix has 6 seasons.
Please, let's exercise some patience. Baba is trying to connect back now. Thank you very much for understanding.
I'm sorry, I have problem with the internet. I'm just about getting across to you. I talked about the typical story of Isaac and Rebecca in now. If I can just share screen, I'll be back in a minute. Yes, sorry for the transmission interruption. I just talked about how to succeed in resolution. And I've talked about prayer to recognize before the Abraham servant could pray, i.e. Rebecca emerged. Those are the steps of God through the contacts up there. So God made Rebecca willing to go. They said, will you follow this man? He said, I will follow him. So these are the principles of resolution benefits. See David, 600 people, their wives were gone, their property was gone, and he asked God, shall I pursue? He said, you can pursue. He made a success. So it is nice to know that God is still in the habit of doing things. Let me just give you a few case studies before we start discussing. God said, let us make man in our own image. And God saw that everything was good. When he was talking to Job, he said, where were you when I made the earth? When I laid the foundation of the earth? The morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted. God made the resolution, God succeeded. But in chapter 6 of Genesis, he was very sorry that he had made man. So, resolutions are not without problems or failures. Abraham had a commanded resolution, be circumcised. He was circumcised that day. 500 years later, it caught Moses Anyone who knows about will be cut off. An angel in the dwelling place wanted to kill him. So resolution, they are not without success or failures. This was the Abraham commanded resolution, go and offer your son. And the success was God did not make him to kill him. He said, by myself I have sworn, because you have done this. So God is able to make it succeed. But the recorded event after Abraham's success was that Sarah died. Does it mean that God wanted to kill his wife? No. There are reasons. See this over 100-year-old man with a young lad. Don't ask me what was blood pressure of Abraham. It was commanded. Let's talk about the Passover. God told them to go, they went. And he saved them from death. He also clothed them and fed them for 40 years. The Bible says your leg did not swell, your clothes did not wear. But see the failure in that pilgrimage. He said, not one of you will get there, only two. All of them died on the way because of what they did the moment. See the lamb in the wilderness. The Israelites who obeyed the Lord, none of them died by the plague. So Jacob's salvation, if the Lord would do this, he succeeded. But 20 years later, his children started rampaging and killing people. And God says, go back, you have failed. Go back to Bethel. David's resolution was to build for God. It's still the classic in scriptures. He only offered to build for God, and God gave him unconditional, eternal blessing. When your days are fulfilled, your house and your kingdom shall be made sure forever. But there was a failure. He said, you will not build for me because you have shed much blood. So in making resolutions, don't give up. David did not give up. See what he did in 1 Chronicles 22, the first 4 verses. He said, with great pains, I have provided for the house of the Lord 100,000 talents of gold. He still bring material, but God said he will not build for him. Jesus Christ sacrificed himself at the Passover. See the success. If you see John chapter 6, verse 40. Everyone who sees the Son and believes in me should have eternal life, and I will raise him at the last day. In John 6:44, he still said, whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood, I will raise him up. Yet, if you drink it unworthily, you are in trouble. So when we are talking about Christ, see Jesus Christ 1,744 years after the Passover lamb, he had become our Passover, being sacrificed for us. So in concluding, deductions from these case studies, those who work within and did what God would do or what he told them to do. Secondly, people who were commanded and inspired, it was for their good. Making sacrificial resolution does not guarantee problem-free life. Most of the resolutions, they have deeper eternal values. Deeper walks with God, they open doors for deeper resolutions. Fear of failure should not make you stop planning for greater tomorrows every day. And God's resolution is unshakable. Romans 8:38. For I am convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height or depth or